foot on the hip on the outside. So if I make collar and sleeve, so everything so far has been my knee is on the outside. So when we looked at the omoplata from this position, it was really all about me pulling on the collar and getting my hip past Carl's right elbow, my left hip, and then I pushed this, and then he started to work for the omoplata. That's one way of getting it. I much prefer on the inside with the knee. The reason I like this is because if I'm playing collar and sleeve and I get my knee on the inside and Carl tries to bring his elbow back to his body, it's a lot easier with my foot on his hip and the wedge that I've made, the connection I have with my knee stroke shin in the crook of his arm. Notice the way I'm slightly on my left hip and I'm pushing up on the shoulder, okay? Watch what happens when I hip escape onto my right hip. Watch Carl's elbow. Keep your elbow tight, bro. The minute I turn onto my right hip, Carl's elbow comes another few inches away from his body. So I'm here, I'm playing the game, I'm pushing. Even if he's pulling that back tight, no problem. I'm just turning my hip and I move to here. Once I get to there, I just kick through. And as my leg comes over, it really depends on what Carl's doing. An easy one to go for from this position is just to make the triangle. And if he's still standing, I hook my foot behind the back of his far leg. Now I let go of the sleeve, but I don't want this arm coming out, so I just come up to this position here. It's on. Okay, so I'm just there, and I just hip in. But more than likely, what's going to happen is I'm going to get Carl down to the hip. So again, from here, there's a lot of people just were struggling with this, working it last time. So when we were playing this Omoplata mesocycle, the Bradley Hill stuff, it's very difficult to get Carl. Just turn this way. It's very difficult to get Carl's shoulder to the mat. So the detail was, I find that tricep, I reach across, I put my right foot on the mat, and I put my weight on Carl. And again, I don't want to be sort of over his hip. I want to bring my head up to the shoulder line here. Okay. Once I'm there, now he's carrying my weight. So the detail was to put tension in the arm. I just lifted his elbow and curled this back. I brought my second knee in behind. I made a wedge there. And now I just go straight forward. Look at that again. So from our position, so anytime you could have your knee on the inside, outside, and then you just switch it to the inside. I don't worry too much about if he's pulling his elbow back to his body, and when I'm playing it, I'm never flat on my back. If I have a knee on the inside, I'm pushing on the shoulder, and I'm more slightly on my left hip. And watch what happens when I turn onto my right hip. Carl's right elbow just comes slightly away from his body, and the minute it does, I just chop through with that triangle. So again, we're playing the game, I'm here, here's the tight, I'm on my left hip. The minute I turn on to my right hip and that space opens up, I just chop that through. Now it depends on what he's doing. If his leg's quite close to me, I will make that triangle, make that hook, and that's all about coming up. Right, I want to make sure Carl doesn't get his arm to the other side. So just stand up again there, bro. If he keeps that leg further back and I can't get that, I'm just grabbing the belt. And now from there, I'll plant my foot on the mat and I just keep hipping out to get him down. Now we're not interested in getting the shoulder to the mat, we just think about coming up. Also this concept, this round hall concept of getting my head past my hips. So when I leg press up, if your head is behind your hips, Carl's just going to posture every single time and maybe get his arm out. So think about when you're coming up, you're nearly trying to touch your toes. Right? I want to be keeping my head past my hips, so I don't want to be back here. So when I come up and we're here, leaning forward, I want my head past my toes. A lot more difficult for him to come up now. And then I just find that. The detail was, we don't, see the way there's like a whole fist there? I'm not interested in trying to get his shoulder to the mat. We just fill that space. So you reach over, make something, a grip on that far armpit, bring my leg back, and then I just use Carl as a crutch. I'm putting all my weight over his shoulder line, and then I curl my foot back to put tension in the arm. Second knee comes behind. So now I've made that wedge. And then I just bring my weight forward. Just get a angle on that, so, from collar and sleeve up until now, your knee has been on the outside. Possibly, you want to get it to the inside. Okay, this is a great guard to play when you're playing it from here. It's a lot easier for Carr to pull his elbow back, and then we're trying, remember when we were playing knee on the outside, we were then trying to get that little off balance, maybe he took that little step with the foot, and then he was trying to get my hip behind that elbow. That can be difficult. So now we need to change your game a little bit. So then just bring the knee to the inside. He'll still be bringing that elbow back. Notice the way his shoulders are never square. I'm constantly messing with his base, pushing his shoulders sort of at a diagonal, and that also keeps me in my left hip. Carr's bringing his elbow back. I'm not even thinking about the omoplata. And then the minute I move from my left hip to my right hip, look at his elbow. Keep it tucked, bro. Just comes away from his hip. The second I feel that space, gosh, I just shoot in. Again, here, turn from my left hip to my right hip, kick that through. If he's bent over, I'm already making that triangle, I'm finding that far leg, it's just sitting up to here. If he's still bent over, and I want to try and get the omoplata, I find that far belt, put my foot on the mat, and he just keeps shrimping out, get him down, then I'm coming up, making that grip. Okay? Once I'm there, leg comes back, make the crutch, make him carry your weight. Bring my foot under to put tension in the arm, thigh comes underneath, now we're just